In this example, we have the relationship between balance B in dollars left on a mortgage loan and N number of monthly payments is given by B, the balance of the mortgage, equals $429,300 minus $1,800 times N, the number of monthly payments. So what's happening here is we have our mortgage starting out, and each month we're trying to subtract some money off of it because we're making payments. So as we make more monthly payments, our mortgage should go down. So the first part says, is B a function of N? And explain your choice in terms of the definition of a function. So there are a couple ways to approach this. So one thing we can think about is it says use the definition of a function. So we want to think, does each input have one output? So each month that we pay our mortgage off, is it going to correspond to one balance? Or could it be that we make a $100 payment and our mortgage is either $300,000 or it's $200,000 as a result of that? Well, no, it makes sense. Each month when you make one payment, it's going to result in one balance. So we're going to say yes. This is a function because each monthly payment, that's our input. Tell me what month, how many months we've been paying on the mortgage, and I can tell you the balance that's left. So this is a function because each monthly payment, our input, corresponds to one mortgage balance, which is our output. Each month you make a payment, you get one new balance. You don't get two balances out where they say, oh, either you owe $400,000 or maybe you only owe $390,000. Now, each time you make a payment, you're going to get one specific balance left over. So each input goes to one output. Another way of approaching this is saying that you have a y equals mx plus b. So here we have our slope and our y-intercept, and that would be another way of saying you have a function, is saying that you have a line. So part B says we want to interpret what are the units 429,300 in this equation and what does it represent in terms of the problem. So we want to think about what are the units that we're measuring. Well, we're talking about the dollars on the mortgage payment for each month. So 429,300 must be in dollars. We're getting out dollars, we're plugging in N months, and what we get out is dollars. So this is $429,300. And that's our y-intercept, right? This is basically like having our mx, and this is our b. It's written the other way. Normally we write it as y equals mx plus b, but it can be b plus mx. It's whichever one is multiplied with the input is your slope, and whatever one is left just a regular number, not multiplied with a variable, is your y-intercept. So $429,300 is the y-intercept. So that's what's going to happen, what we're going to have as our starting point when n is 0. Y-intercepts are starting points. Starting point when our input, this time it's n, not an x, is 0. So that tells us where we're starting out. It's the initial amount owed on the mortgage. The mortgage is starting off at $429,300, and every month it's going to go down as we make more and more payments. So there's our initial amount owed. Because our y-intercept, that's our starting point. When n is 0, when we have made 0 payments, we owe $429,300, and as we make more and more monthly payments, it's going to go down from there. So what are the units for $1,800? Well, we're going to be paying in dollars. So we're going to say $1,800 is the monthly payment for our mortgage. Multiply n, the number of months we've been paying on our mortgage. That's going to be how much we're subtracting off that initial balance. So we're starting out with $429,300, and we're going to subtract $1,800 each month when we make our payment. So what is the balance of the mortgage after 10 years? So first of all, we need to figure out how many months is that. N is in months. It's our monthly payment. So if this was 10 months, we'd just plug in 10, but we're not asked about 10 months, we're asked about 10 years. So we're going to take this 10 years and multiply by 12 months per year. That way the years will cancel out and we'll have an answer just in months. So 10 years times 12 months in a year is going to give us 120 months of making these monthly payments. So we're going to plug that into our equation. Our balance is going to be $429,300, our initial mortgage, minus we've made $1,800 payments every month for 120 months are in 10 years. So I'm just going to grab my calculator and plug that in. 429,300 minus 1,800 times 120. My balance on the mortgage 10 years in is this $213,300. So definitely not paying off this mortgage in 10 years alone. We got it down to just over $200,000 though. So then the next question becomes, well, how many years is it going to take to pay off the mortgage? So we want to figure out, we want to find when the balance on the mortgage is 0. When is it going to be paid off? So we're going to take this equation and set it equal to 0. We want 0 to be the balance, and 0 is going to be $429,300 minus 1,800 times n. So how many months, how many n does it take to get this to equal 0 for our balance? So all we did was we looked at this original equation and we switched out the balance for being 0. So now we're going to solve this. So first thing I could do to solve it is try to subtract this $429,300 over. We're going to try to get n by itself. We're trying to figure out how many months, and then we'll have to convert that to years because the question says how many years. So we're trying to get n by itself. So first thing we do is we subtract over the constant. It doesn't have an n on it. So I'm a little bit closer to having n by itself. I need to divide both sides by 1,800, or negative 1,800 in this case. And that way we have n by itself. So n equals, we have 429,300 divided by 1,800. Those are both negative, so they cancel out to be a positive 238.5 as our number of payments. Well, that's months. It says round to the nearest year. So I'm going to take that 238.5 months and figure out how many months are in a year. Well, 1 year has 12 months. So we need to multiply by 1/12 or divide 238.5 by 12 to convert this to years. So we have 19.875 years. So if we think about this in terms of a calendar, so we're 19 years in, and then we have 0.875 of a year. So not quite totally 20 years. We have 0.875, which would put us at maybe like mid-October of the 19th year. So about 19 years. Normally we would round up when we see a 0.8, but this is going to be like winter of the 19th year. It's not quite the 20th year yet. It's like 10 months into the next year. So 19 years and 10 months is what we'd get by that 0.875 times 12. So just over 19 years later. So we know we didn't get there by 10, so I'm happy to have an answer that's bigger than 10. That makes sense, because at 10 years, we still have a mortgage of over $200,000. But by 19, almost 20 years later, we will have this balance down to zero and have the house paid off.